Alright everyone, welcome back to Final Fantasy 1. Hope you all had a wonderful week. We are here in the Duragar Cave, or Cavern, and we have some nitro powder with us, which I think these dwarves will be able to use to blow a hole in something to open up a bit more of the world for us. Ahem, looking for some levistone. It's supposed to be in the amazing material. Oh, it's supposed to be an amazing material that actually floats in the air. Saying "tay" like that is awkward. That's Sund. That's Narek. He's smushing rocks in the back of the cave. Cool. Alright, let's find Narek. Lolly-ho. Alright. Interesting, guys. When it comes to defense, a good armlet can be every bit as stout, I'm assuming he means, as body armor. I don't want to read it with their accent. You should try one oot sometime. Fudge. Alright. Let's try to figure out where Narek is. Smith. If only I could have some of the legendary metal adamantite, I'd be able to make such a magical sword. That accent is hard to. Oh man. The earth has started to rot. It began in the west, and now the decay spreads. So I guess we're going to be going further west. That's probably where that town Melmond is that we've been looking for the whole time. Or at least since episode 2. Alright. Where are you, Narek? Oh, here's more treasure at least. Worm killer. That's good. Ether. Potion. Oh yeah, so I did go back and mithril mail. I went back to the Marsh Cave and the Chaos Shrine, which is where we fought Garland in episode 1, and used the Mystic Key to get some new equipment for us. So the Rune Blade was something new, although the Worm Sword is immediately better than it. We just got a Great Helm. Mithril mail. Actually, wait, was that word? No, okay, that was better. Alright, so that's that. I don't think we got too much else that was good. Going through those areas. Oh, the silver armlet, which increased Rhea's defense up quite a bit. That seems to be about all we really got, as well as a bunch of money, and also while I was going back and doing grabbing those items. Oh, here's Narek. We leveled up again, so we're level 19 now, I believe. Nitro powder. The explosive force in this powder will have my canal open in no time flat. Oh man. These dwarves. That seems like a stupid idea. There we go. Now we can bluter this rock to smithereens. Alright. What are you standing around for? The powder's set to blow. Unless you plan on going with it, we'd better get out whilst you can. Oh. Their accents are silly, but I fucking love dwarves. Alright, so let's see what this opens up for us in the world map. Nice. Okay, so we should be able to sail around there now. What an asshole. I cannot wait to see what lies out there on that canal. Alright. That was... I think that's all we needed to do here. So let's head back up and go sail around through the canal. Hopefully we'll finally be able to make it to Melmond, where the Earth is decaying, which will start us on the more significant part of this journey. So if anyone was wondering why I chose to do Final Fantasy 1 as my first Let's Play, for the most part, I just love JRPGs, been a big fan of them since I was a little kid, and recently they've been kind of releasing on the PS4 and on Android and iOS, just remakes of all the Final Fantasy games, so I wanted to play through them all again. Figured why not do a recording and let's play of the entire series. And yeah, generally I just really enjoy the Final Fantasy games. There's something super simplistic but enjoyable and rewarding about them. And the series has just such an interesting history. Pretty much, for those who don't know, the company was more or less going to go bankrupt. There's a canal. And then they made Final Fantasy 1, and it was such a success, it saved the company. Pretty much within a year they were able to make the second Final Fantasy game, and they did a bold thing. You'll see it when we get to Final Fantasy 2, but they did a really bold thing where they pretty much changed the core leveling up system and went for a more complicated narrative than this one. Because this game, like, the plot is 4 guys show up. They have these crystals that basically make them the chosen ones, and now they have to go on a quest to restore light to a world that's slowly being taken over by the dark. But the second one deals with, it's more or less like the Star Wars of Final Fantasy. There's an empire, you're a couple of kids that are orphaned by a war, you join a resistance, you start fighting back. But honestly, there's a lot of death in the second one, so I'm really looking forward to getting to that. It's a darker, more interesting story, and then obviously, as they go up, all the way up to 15, just the gameplay constantly grows and changes, and I figured, why not, as a Let's Play, start with Final Fantasy 1, which is as simple and simplistic as a game can get in terms of the functionality of it, the gameplay, the mechanics. It's not that hard. And then as we continue to play through, you'll see how the games get more and more complicated, and I will hopefully get more active with my commentary, more comfortable with it. You know, the channel will grow as we get through the more complicated parts of the series. That's the game plan anyways. So, we sailed through the canal, and now let's see... Yes, Melmond. And the Earth really is rotting here. Crap. Restore the crystals to grace. Okay. If the Earth crystal regains its glow, life will return to the Earth. The hills and valleys will again be green. Okay, so we are going to try to restore the Earth crystal here. Damn, these spells are expensive. Okay, HP to the entire party is a good one. A lot of HP to one person is also useful. And we're gonna go with lots of damage to the undead, just so we're not always resorting to using Logan spells when it comes to dealing with mobs of enemies. And speaking of Logan, let's see here, we got Faraga, which is really nice, but I don't think we need it just... Okay, let's go for teleport first. That's always gonna be useful. Whoa, what's wrong? Why can't Logan learn... Oh, he can't learn teleport. I see. That's only for the Black Wizard. Okay, so at one point in this game, you will be able to get your classes up. And wait, what does Scorch do? Instantly kills foes. Let's go for Faraga. I'm sure there's a lot of things that are immune to instant kill. So at one point in this game, you will be able to upgrade the class of every party member you chose. So Logan will go from being a black mage to a black wizard, and that's when he'll be able to start using the more powerful spells. You know what? I don't think we need to worry about Tarkus's damage output so much as his armor. So let's see if we can find a store to get him a bit better equipment. And actually, more so than Tarkus, the rest of the party really needs some armor. I should talk to these people. Restore the crystals to grace. In the cave on the southern tip of this continent lives a man named Sada. He is a wise man who knows much. Okay, let's go find that wise man. What's his name? I've gone the way here, Frey Duragar, to find Oot, the spring heat of the earth's decay. Okay. Sorry for butchering that if I mispronounced half that shit. I've heard that the ancients possess something with the power to make a ship float in the sky. That's probably the Levistone that other dwarf was talking about. We'll have to find that later. Long ago, a prosperous civilization thrived in the Northland. Now it's fallen into ruin. Alright, that's shitty. The whole earth decaying thing here is pretty interesting. So am I an idiot? I cannot see an armor shop around here anywhere, which is really unfortunate. I was hoping to get some better armor. Oh, there's a northern part of town. There it is. And what do you have to say? The giant living in the cave eats rocks. He'll eat just about any kind of rock, but I hear he especially likes gems. He can't get enough. That is... Okay, we're gonna fight a giant. The earth is decaying, and it's all the doing of the vampire that lives in the cavern of earth. Our town is in such rotten shape because he's blocking the flow of power to earth. Will you stop him for us? So we are going to go vampire slaying. That'll be fun. The cavern of earth is to the south of Melmond on the peninsula called the Devil's Tail. It used to be the closer you got to that cave, the more fertile the soil. Now it's a barren wasteland. Okay. So let's grab some armor and go see if we can kill this vampire. Wow, that's expensive. Shoot. Okay, and pretty much everything else we have. I'll buy a silver armlet for the other guys. Alright. We'll try to keep Andre alive so he can keep throwing out those punches. Alright, let us head off to the Devil's Tail and the Earth Cavern. Oh. Ogre Chief, eh? I'm sure he's not that much stronger than a regular ogre. Oh, jeez, 13 damage. You know what, though? That stuff adds up over time. Especially if we're gonna get lost in another cave and end up fighting for about 10-20 minutes, like last time. Okay. I'll assume I'm going the right way. Alright, Earth Cavern. We're pretty good. Our MP levels are fine, our HP's fine. I think we're pretty good for time. Let's go for a longer episode today. Let's start exploring this Earth Cavern. And, yeah, to touch back on what I was saying before, I always just thought it was really interesting that they, were willing to change up the formula a lot for Final Fantasy as the games went on. You know, they were willing to, like Final Fantasy Tactics, which I'm not sure if I'll play through on the channel or not, but was more grid-based battle, a more strategic game than the main Final Fantasies, with the more like turn-based classic JRPG thing going for it. The like the most recent one, Final Fantasy 15, is pretty much just an action RPG. Honestly, half the time I was playing it, I kept forgetting I was even playing a Final Fantasy game, and that's not a bad thing for someone who's played through the whole series to get something new and fresh like that. 13 was very cinematic, very linear, which a lot of people complained about. I didn't really have a problem with it. I feel like maybe people forget how linear a lot of Final Fantasy is. Like, as much as right now I'm exploring the world, and I got lost before, I couldn't figure out where that elf prince was and stuff. It's not like I had too many options of where to go to figure that stuff out, right? Like you have to do these events in this order. You have to, oh, everyone leveled up, nice. You have to go to Elfheim to find out about Astos, to go fight him, to get the Crystal Eye, to come back and get the Mystic Key, to be able to go to Cornelia, to get the Nitro Powder. It's like you're backtracking a lot, but the events have to happen in that order. So when people complain that 13's a little too linear, it kind of just cuts through to the point more so than anything. Like, instead of getting lost and spending 2 or 3 hours trying to figure out where the hell the Nitro Powder is, you just keep going forward. And I don't dislike that as much as everyone else seems to. Let's heal everyone up a little bit here. These enemies are pretty tough. Oh, wow. Okay, the encounter rate in this cave, jeez. Let's try out this Lazara spell. Oh boy, alright. This is gonna be quite the grind. Let's just... you know what? We don't need to heal. Famous last words. Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about the series, obviously. Like I said, I'm going to be playing through the whole thing, and for those who may not have played through any of the series, I don't want to make it a moot point to watch everything because I've already talked about it all. But I'm really looking forward to playing through a lot of the earlier games to show just the slow incremental development and changes, and then once we get past 9, just the complete and utter revamp of almost the entire series. I mean, 10 is really good and very close to what the classics used to be, but well, okay, I'll talk a lot about 11. I'm not going to touch 11. It's an MMORPG, which is a format of gameplay I'm not very fond of. I know a lot of people like it. I could never get into them. I played World of Warcraft. I think I had like a level 42 dwarf hunter and then just gave up on the game. And I just was not happy with it after the amount of time I put in it. Which is funny because it is no different than this. It's just, I guess there's an end goal in sight in games like this, in games like Final Fantasy 1, where, okay, cool, we're here to restore light to the land, we've got to go around, like, you know an end is coming, and when you reach that end, you feel like you got a reward, and not that you don't, like, there's an end to every quest in an MMORPG, so in one sense you get your reward even faster by just completing a quest every day, but I don't know, I like the idea of putting something down and being done with it, and never, like, and just feeling like that form of sense of accomplishment. Like, there's always more to do in an MMORPG, I find, and, like, you can never do all of it. And I'm one of those gamers that I like to sit back, look at a game, and be like, yeah, I beat the last boss, I'm done with that game. Or, like, with the PlayStation trophy system, the achievement system on Steam and Xbox, where you look and you're like, you know, I got 80% of the achievements in that game. I'm good. I feel proud of myself. And in an MMO, I always just feel like I look at it and I'm like, man, I got like 8% of the achievements. And like, yeah, I'm level 60, but like, all it was a grind. Like, I didn't grind and then go fight a boss and feel the accomplishment of beating a boss. And even if I did, like, I guess I also have that thing of, in an MMO, you work together as a team, which I'm not that big of a fan of, oddly enough. I usually, and maybe I'm just bad at MMOs also, but I usually feel like, okay, cool, this wasn't something I could do on my own, like I needed the help to do it, so I still don't really feel that sense of accomplishment, which is not a good way to be, you know. It should be a team effort. I should be like, hey, I was part of like a huge group and we all did this together, but anyways, so I won't be playing 11. I might do a little bit of 14 because I've never played 14. And I have a friend who is very into that game, so I might do a bit of 14 just to show what it's like, because obviously, who knows, maybe one of you guys will see it and really like it and end up getting into the game too, right? So, but yeah, so essentially after Final Fantasy X, they decided they needed to get in on the MMO RPG side of things, and they made 11, which I had heard good things about 11 when it came out, and then when 14 originally came out, I heard it was an absolute dumpster fire. Oh, that costs 30. Let's not use that. It's an absolute dumpster fire is what I heard about 14 initially being released, but 14 A Realm Reborn, I've heard a lot of good things about it. Like I said, I have a friend, she's very into it. So, I'll definitely end up checking that out when we get to it. As far as the progression of the rest of the series, though, I really do enjoy just the... You can almost see, like, the way when you're playing through the games. It's hard to explain. Like, you guys will see it. I don't know why I'm talking so much about it. But as you're playing through and you're exploring and seeing all these different things, a lot of themes repeat themselves, but they're more polished, which is always fun. Like... okay, for example, in 3 and 5, we will once again be a group of 4 warriors destined to go and fix these crystals to restore light to a world that's slowly being taken over by darkness. But what the darkness is in each game is different, and like in this game, these characters, they have absolutely no personality whatsoever. They're, honestly, I named them all after Dark Souls characters. They're just... It could be anyone, right? Like, you can name the characters after yourself or your friends, or just straight up like stupid names. They're not actual people. They don't have any defined personalities. But when you get to 3, like what they did was in this one, when it starts, you choose from 6 classes which class you want your guys. Oh, finally we're out of that hell. Okay. So yeah, you choose which class you want your characters to be, and then they're just... That is what your party is. You pick a party of 4. You could have 4 warriors. You could have like 2 warriors, a white mage, and a thief. You can do whatever you want, but this is your party. You're stuck with them. And in 3, you only have 4 people. Again, they pretty much have no personality worth noting, but you can change their class, which is very interesting. So, for example, those slime enemies we were running into in the marsh cave. If we keep running into those in a dungeon and we're like, okay, this is ridiculous, they're immune to melee, we can't do anything to them, you can always switch your entire party to black mages and blast them all with magic to take them out. And that's always a really cool thing in that, but what that does too is the experience you would get for defeating those enemies would go towards that job class as a black mage. So, ooh, Earth Elemental. Okay. Um, yeah, it would go towards that job class of, oh, why would I use Fear instead of Fire? Anyways, so then when you switch back, say you had one of your characters as a knight, you're getting annoyed, these enemies are immune to physical attacks, so let's switch him over to a black mage. He will be a very weak black mage, and any experience he's gaining as the black mage won't benefit him once you switch him back to being a knight. But, so that's a cool little aspect of 3. And then in 5, you can do the same thing, but they went further on it in that the characters have fully fleshed out and defined personalities. So they're not just these random group of chosen... well, they are, but they also all have personality. Like, the characters in 5 are really interesting, and I actually like a lot of them. And I won't talk too much about them, because obviously, again, I'm going to play through it. But it's just little things like that that I like about this series, and that's kind of why I chose to do this series as a Let's Play. And in the inverse, so if 1, 3, and 5 are about a group of people going to, well, it is about 4 people going to deal with basically the battle between dark and light represented through crystals. 2. Like I said before, is kind of like a Star Wars-esque story where you're a group of like young people who join up with a rebellion and you're trying to fight an evil empire. 4 has an amazing plot that again deals more with war than with like the grand scheme of light and dark, although 4 kind of drops the ball near the end, in my opinion. You'll see it when we get to it. 4 is weird. But the beginning of 4 is a masterpiece. It's only near the end that it doesn't stick the landing. And then 6 is an absolutely beautiful story about war and like humanity and life and death and what it means to be to define yourself as a person and what you should define yourself through. So it's really interesting. Like the even ones, 2, 4, and 6, are very emotional stories. The characters in it are amazing. They have a lot of depth to them. In 1 and 3, the characters do not matter, but the fact that they're more customizable than your characters are in especially 4 and 6, where they have fixed classes, is very, very different. I don't know. It's just, I guess what I'm just trying to say is the series changes things up enough, and you can watch it slowly grow over time. In really incredible ways. And then, at least for the first 6, and then when we get to 7, it's kind of... 7 is the first one that's like an accumulation of everything that came before it. Your characters have fixed classes, but you can customize them nonetheless through materia, which is an equipable resource in 7. So, for example, Tifa is your monk. But you can equip her with the ability to summon giant monsters to come down and fight for her. But nonetheless, like, her base class is a monk, and she has a really interesting personality. Likewise, Cid in Final Fantasy VII is a dragoon, which is an amazing class that's introduced later on. But I usually end up making him also my healer, because of the materia that I give him. So in that one, your characters are, because they're fixed characters and a fixed class, they have a distinctive personality that you can't change, but you can customize like their secondary abilities, which still gives you freedom to control them and make them what you want. Like, most people probably don't play Cid as a healer, but I do. And anyways, we're going to go back to Melmond, we're going to heal up. That cave is pretty awesome. I guess that was like a path that I went down before, where every step was a battle against pretty tough enemies. So now we are definitely over-leveled, but nonetheless, we are going to go back into that cave and try to deal with that vampire, see if we can stop that earth from decaying. I know I rambled a lot in this episode. I was just trying to keep the commentary flowing as we were running around and exploring. Let me know what you guys prefer, if you prefer just me to focus on the gameplay, or if you do want me to talk about things. I just want to keep this flowing for you guys. I want to keep it interesting for you guys. All right, well, I will end this episode here, head back to town, heal up, and we'll start up again inside the cavern. I'll hopefully find. I might explore into the cavern a little bit on my own, try to find the right path to go, and then from there we can kick it up. All right. Hope you guys had a great week. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next Friday. Thank you very much. Have a great one.